I've got a cordless screwdriver set up with an 1/8 inch drill bit. I've got another cordless screwdriver set up with a number 2 Phillips bit. A tube of caulk. We use a RTV series adhesive, clear adhesive. Any clear silicone adhesive is just fine, or silicone sealant, doesn't need to be adhesive, is just fine. I got somebody else's screwdriver that I may need as a pry bar or a chisel, so don't use your best screwdriver. I have a good Phillips number 2, and just in case I have a 5/16 nut driver in case you run into some hex head screws. And last, we have a box cutter. Okay, doing a brief, we're going to go through the changing of panels on the BDC-8 carts. The one with the recessed handle here, we have a BDC-8X, usually shipped with baskets inside. This is the regular BDC-8, and generally no baskets, boxes, or whatever of novelties. So those are the two carts. The graphic panels are identical for both, so there's no worry, no need to, you don't worry about getting them mixed up. Same. Okay, so the method's going to be the same. I'm looking at this cart here. This bottom track is sealed, so I'm going to take the box cutter and I'm going to cut the silicone seal at the bottom here. Okay, and you may have one up here at the top. So box cutter, and let's cut the top out. Okay, just bring it through the, whoops, that was a cheap graphic. Okay, so you can see some of the silicone bleeding out. First step, do that, okay? You got the cordless. If the cordless will act as a screwdriver, break the screws manually, okay? I'm not using the machine to do this. I'm breaking the screw manually. And I'm doing that because they've been out in the parks. They may have a little bind to them. They may be a little resistant. And if you put the drill in and you start chattering the screw, then you're going to grind it out. So break them free by hand real quick. Just one quick turn will do it. If you don't have a screwdriver that locks, then use the manual screwdriver. So I'm just breaking them loose just to make sure when I go to take them out, I don't have any issues. Okay, so the top one, I'm not taking these screws out. I'm just going to loosen these screws up at the top. My corners, I'm taking the screws out. I'm going to break that one loose and just not take it out, just back it off a little bit. All right, these come out. Stop. Okay?
Go.
All right, so screws out, corner pieces will come off. Don't lose them. This is where you might need your blade screwdriver to help get this thing out. This one, this trim strip actually goes up under. I've had to take these screws out and just lift that up a little bit to free this out, and it's off. So now I've got my corners off, and I just take the panel and just pull it out. They're Lexan, they're not going to break, and just get it out of the way. And that's an ugliness, but we're going to cover it up and make it look pretty. So all the way around the horn, same thing. I remove the corners. We generally don't replace this panel. We don't want this panel replaced. It's got our serial number information. It's got instructions if there's on the temperature control settings. Again, this is about a 6-7-year-old cart, but this label wants to stay. This panel stays. Umbrella holder on the older carts. Again, these screws will come out, cut the silicone sealant top and bottom and pull it out. You have to take these screws out to lift the trim out, take them out. Generally, the newer carts, you won't have to do that. Okay, so we're going to put the panel back in, and masking tape. You want to bring masking tape. I forgot the masking tape on the tool list. So we're just going to slide this in here, And again, this material is virtually unbreakable, but it's not unbreakable. And you can see where the holes are, and this has been drilled out a couple of times. So you can see where the holes are. Just kind of, you don't want to drill through the Lexan itself. So you'll see the holes lined it up somewhat even. This flexes again, just let it snap under. Let's follow it along the middle. It'll snap in there. And now you're ready to put your corners back on. If you need to hold it in place, usually it'll stay in place. Maybe you have some masking tape and you put all the panels on. Take off this end over here, the corner, and put the other one on, and just to keep them in spots. You might, sometimes handy to have a little masking tape. Windy day blows things around. So once I have that in place, now I put my corners back on. So that goes there. I see my screw holes, it lines up. If my screws are stripped, or if my holes are stripped out, not uncommon after a few years in the park with different graphic changes, if these holes are stripped out, I move this trim piece, I can turn it upside down, and I can reverse it. So if the holes are stripped looking like this, then I can turn this thing upside down and put the holes, and this is why I have my 1/8" drill bit, drill new holes here, drill new holes there to, and then use the self-tappers to put the screws back in. These are not. Okay, we're going to take a break here. Oh, this is why I have the masking tape. All right, ready to go? All right, so this is why I have the masking tape, by the way. It's once I find the holes, now tape your panel in place. Grab your cordless screwdriver with a torque setting. Okay, I got torque setting. I'm not putting these screws in on the drill. No, no. Let's dial that torque down somewhere. Okay. We don't want to chatter the screws or break the screw heads off. Just line that baby up. And you hear that sound? That's the sound of I've maxed out. Okay? That's what you don't want to be chattering the screw and stripping the screw head out. So when you've got it to that, you give it a final tug manually for that final tightening. Okay. With the back, again, the same size panels, but you do have another screw back here. This corner has to come off, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 screws to take that corner off, and the same on the opposite corner. Same process. Got the silicone top and bottom. Pull your corners off, pull the panel out, put the new one back in, and use your masking tape to hold them in place while you reinstall the corner pieces. Okay, last thing, I got my panel replaced, got all my screws back in, and I'm going to take my silicone and I want to lay a bead of silicone on the bottom. Okay, I'm not too concerned about up top here, but I want to lay it on the bottom to try to put a little bit of a barrier between the moisture wicking up behind the panels, and that tends to make some rot. And then with my Manual screwdriver, just give everything a little friendly hand tweak. Make sure things are snug. And if everything's snug, you're done.